Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. A very warm welcome to Meet Menaca Talk Show, episode 125. Today, we are going to be discussing domestic violence and mental health with Alan Joseph, Patna Santa Mohan, and Maharani Sasikumar. Firstly, wishing you all a very happy and prosperous new year. Hope all your dreams come true this year. And thank you for supporting through another year, and hope everyone together make a positive difference. Why do we have to speak about domestic violence and mental health in particular? We should discuss these critical issues, and we should be able to spark these insightful discussions and work towards creating a safer and healthier world for each and every one of us. Mission of this talk show is to make a positive change and spread hope to million lives by touching their hearts and inspiring their lives. So today is an opportunity once again to be part of something bigger, a movement towards better health, happiness, and hope for all of us. We go live first Sunday of every month at 2 o'clock in London time. And for India, Sri Lanka time, it changes between summer and winter. Now it is 7:30 in the evening, and other Asian countries. You have to register by the link we provide in most social medias. But if you have any difficulties, please reach out for one of us by emailing to meet@menaca.co or through WhatsApp. Introducing the speakers for the day. First, it is Alan Joseph. He is a co-founder, head of public relations, safeguarding, and guides the vision and strategic direction of the organization. Being a software professional, he supports the technology for the organization. Alan is also part of the Governor Board of School in London. He works with communities in a diverse range of issues related to areas such as career counseling, effective management of relationships, adjustment to life changes, stress management in communities. Alan is one of the elected councillors for the London Borough of Hounslow, not far from where I work. Now we'll talk about the speaker, Patna Santa Mohan. She's also a co-founder, head of counselling, and BACP accredited counsellor. She came into counselling not knowing what it is, but it has changed her life, she claims. We will ask her more about that when we talk. She has built resilience and confidence since she started working with herself and with others. Her professional journey started in 2010, while her counseling, supervision, and assessment in AGAL also being part of this big organization affiliated with the NHS, it has made a change for her. It is very important for her that AGAL is sincere, available, and up to the standard in everything they do. Now it is Maharani Sasikumar. He's also a co-founder, CEO, and head of domestic violence services. She also has a Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Science. Maharani helped shape the vision of AGAL Wellbeing Services charity and sets the organization's overall direction. As a co-founder, Maharani shares her years of experience working in the community setting. Maharani leads the organization's operational functions. She has been a software professional for an investment bank for a number of years as a data specialist and held voluntary positions by working with children and involved in many church-related community services. So now, listening to that, hopefully everyone knows why we have chosen the speakers we have to talk about today's subject. So a very warm welcome to everyone on board, and let's dive in and see how we can make an impact. A very warm welcome to all you speakers. A pleasure to have you all. Happy New Year to all the three of you.
Thank you for inviting us, Menaca.
So before we dive into the subject of domestic abuse, just for the greater understanding for everyone, can we understand what is abuse in the first instance?
The core of abuse is in the power and control. of anyone. It can be any, and it's also intimate partner violence, it's called. So it's not about others outside the house. It can be one who is very close to you. That's how the abuse will be classified as domestic abuse. When we say it's a pattern, it is not just a one-day thing. So it could start in a very small things, a little put downs here, there, and the other, and then slowly into silent treatment for 3-4 days, and then come back to normal. So it's a pattern of actions that will make sure that the person, the abuser, the perpetrator, make sure that they are in control of your life and your family's well-being.
Sure. Thank you so much for that, because I think it's important to understand what is abuse before we go in and dive deep and talk about it. So how do you identify it is domestic violence? Because sometimes the borderlines can be murky, right? How can someone recognize the presence of abuse in a relationship, or what are the warning signs of an abuser? Because I think particularly in an intimate relationship, like you said, it could be difficult for the person who's involved or close friends and families to identify it.
Yeah. The pattern in a healthy relationship is by responding to what other people think as well. It's not just about me, sort of thing, but it also about responding to problem by talking or discussing, taking a break. You can be in a heated argument, but you can take a break and then continue from there. You can gracefully agree to disagree as well. But in the home is a place where you can be yourself. You can be at ease, and you should have freedom to do anything and everything as an adult, right? But if that is being jeopardized, and if that is being put at risk and being controlled, or it could be little things like you're not dressing up properly, you look ugly, you don't this doesn't fit you, or from that sort of comments to a greater scale of putting down, name calling, and things like that. So those are the red flags and warnings that people need to understand.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because usually, particularly in certain communities, if it's abuse, only one thing comes to mind, that's physical abuse, right? That it can be much broader than that.
Yeah.
There can be, coercing, there's the control, this. So I'm glad that you mentioned these things, the milder forms of them, so that people know what it could be. But like as I mentioned before, any one of you can, respond to this. As friends and family, close friends and family, or if that particular person is involved in it, how do they identify it is domestic violence? Because it takes a long time. We have heard time and time and time again, people don't realize they're in an abusive relationship, or their close, loved ones don't realize that someone is in an abusive relationship. So what can we do to change that landscape?
As you said, it is a pattern. I keep coming back with the same word, pattern, because that is the key. That if any one of us or people who are going through abuse can get that into their mind, it is a cycle. So slowly it will start with the honeymoon period. There are 3 or 4 different types of periods. They classify the cycle. They break the cycle into 4 different things. So the first period is called honeymoon period, or calm period, where everything will be rosy, everything will be beautiful. There will be so much coercing, loving, and I love you sort of statements will come out during that period. And then it will be a tension building stage. It moves on to the tension building stage where the put down starts to come out. Like, you are not fit to drive a car. You're not worthy to, go for this meeting. Why do you want to come for this meeting? Or why are you working in this way? Sort of thing. And then that is the tension building, which they will make sure that you're going through, it's normal to go through this sort of put downs. And then comes the third stage where it is the actual episode happens. It could be physical, it could be financial, coercive. There are different types of abuse that I'll come and break it down a little bit more later. But the pattern I would like to continue is this is how it continues. And then once they hit you, or once there is a big argument, they will walk away and make sure that you are the one who made it happen. So it's because of you that I have been upset with. It's the way you dress makes me upset. And then they go into guilt trip. So the quiet period, after that episode, it'll be a quiet period. So it could be initially, it will start for maybe once a year or once every 3 months. So the frequency also will get closer and closer, and it will become more frequently happening in the home. So that's one thing that the abuser should victim should identify, and maybe they should start thinking, when was the last time I had an episode of this arguments, and when this happened. So that's how they have to get it.
Sure. Thank you so much, Maharani. And thank you, Logi, for, I think he has put it as abuse as many shapes: verbal, wealth, dowry, including dowry, body shape, and parental. And thank you, Tara, for sharing the number and details where you can reach out, because I know it's a very sensitive subject. Sometimes people get very worked up listening to this. So we are sharing the number and the details where you can reach out in case you want to reach out. So thank you so much for that. We have all heard that, right? Why domestic abuse shouldn't be dealt with in the closed doors. But particularly most of us come from certain communities. We have been told time and time again, don't air the dirty laundry in public. And because of that, sometimes we very rarely speak out about these things, or it's too late, too much mental, physical, emotional, psychological damage has been done by the time this comes to light. So what is your take on it?
Yeah, so mainly it's about the problems that people go through. If it has been within the closed doors, you can't deal with it, in a sense, like why. The reason being is the amount of pressure that you get from the abuser. It will cause you a lot of damages to yourself and also to the people around you, including if you're having a children or your own families and parents or whoever it is around. So everyone will get affected. So it is better to seek an advice immediately, and rather it is going to become as a crime. So it's impossible to deal abuse within the closed doors, because the perpetrators won't be having any options to change themselves. If they started it, it's very difficult. So that's the reason it shouldn't be dealt with a closed door. Seeking advice and not taking the help, it really matters a lot for the individuals rather than it becoming a crime.
Thanks, Helen. So am I right in saying that, or interpreting what you're saying, is rather than dealing with yourself, you should seek for professional help outside?
That's right.
Sure.
Let me add something to that.
Sure.
As well. So as Alan said, it is hard to reach out to others. That is a main thing that the victims face. They are unable to share because they think this is a honor of the family will be shattered.
Shame,
In
stigma.
Tamil, they keep telling us that you have to keep everything within the closed doors or within the four walls, any marital issues. So that is something that the abusers will plant into the mind of the victims. They wouldn't even know that, why are you talking about this to your family and friends? So that's something makes it hard for the abuse victims to take it to the others. But that is the main strength of the abuser. So in order to break that cycle, the victims need to take it, or maybe they can start talking to a very close friend or family or cousins, whoever they are confident with. And then maybe when they are ready, and when because the abuse is not going to stop there. it's going to continue for ages. So it's better to talk to someone through the available help. Yeah.
And I think, and also this is where, as a community, it's very important. As a society, it's important for all of us to know what to do at that time, right? If somebody comes to you, what are you going to do at this time? I think that's why it's important to discuss this. And we have heard it, right? Like we all grew up with certain cultural values. Most of us have been told or taught that abuses can change. I'm just going to ask, as experts and who work in this area so much more than I do, is it possible for abuses to change?
Yes, but it is a very serious commitment to change, Menaca. So they first making the choice to change the behavior, it's a huge commitment for the abuser. Once an abuser has had all power in the relationship, it's difficult to transition to an healthy relationship where each partner has a equal respect and power. So they can't accept it to be in having the equal respect and power. Sometimes an abusive partner stops one form of the abuse. For example, if the abuser is doing a physical violence, but then he tried to stop that, but continues to employ other forms of abuse, such as emotional, sexual, or financial abuse, those kind of things. So it is important to remember that domestic violence includes one or more forms of abuse, and it's part of an overall pattern of seeking power and control over the victim. So if you ask me, it's a serious commitment for the abusers to change, but it is very difficult. But there is a possibility of changes in the from the abusers.
Thank you, Alan. I mean, I'm a leadership mentor and coach and personal development. No one changes until they want to change themselves, right? By someone telling them to change or asking them to change, it very rarely happens until the person wants to change themselves. And I think that's where the professional helps really comes in handy, because they might, is in certain communities, the main issue is they think if they go to counseling, if they go for psychotherapy, they are going to break the family. And I'm waiting for Patna to come in later on to say something about this, because it is not the aim of someone to break the family, but to make sure that whatever is best for that particular couple to do it. I think that is where it stems from. So I'm glad that we are talking about these things, really.
Correct, man. That's
Another-
valid. Sorry, that's valid point. Nobody's intention is to break the relationship or break the family. We are trying to build it more stronger in a possible way that they can prolong the relationship. But if the person, the abuser, couldn't change, or if it's not willing to change after all the support that we are providing or the help, then it's for the welfare of the victims or the survivor. It is just good for them to stay away for their own healthy and wealth and for health purpose, and also for the family.
It's for the greater good of everyone.
Can I mention something?
Yes, of course.
As I just thought about this now, is that when abuses, there are two different kinds of abuses. There are the abusers who have been role modeled that this is the way you treat other people, and then there are them who has been maybe because of their past experiences of abuse or other kind of trauma, kind of giving out anger and putting other people down to gain that kind of control. And so if they have to, for them to come to the acknowledgement that there's something wrong with them, that they're doing something wrong, those who are role model that this is the way men treat women, or this is the way women treat, for them to recognize that they're doing something, it's easier for them to recognize, especially in the Western world where they see other people behave differently. But those of us who has been through trauma or experiences in life, it can be difficult for us to recognize that what we're doing is wrong. And so if the partner, the victim, leaves the home or does something drastic to show that this is not acceptable, they need that kind of traumatic intervention or dramatic intervention for them to recognize that actually what they're doing is wrong. So in that way, they're actually helping their partners to come to a recognition as well, I think.
Yeah, they're not aware sometimes. And it's sometimes, I think it is also they're overcompensating for their poor self-esteem, isn't it? That could be a cause as well. Thank you, Padma, for contributing towards that. The other $1 million question, and I'm sure you guys know why it is. Lots of people ask this question again and again and again, even if you're watching a cinema or TV drama, television drama. Why do people stay with the abusers, and why do they keep going back to the same abuses time and time again?
So one of the things main is survivors or the victims, survivors, I should say, when they are in the relationship and going through the abuse. So often report that they want the abuse to end, not the relationship. That's what the main criteria of a survivor. They want only the abuse to end, not the relationship. However, a survivor may stay with or return to an abusive partner because they believe the abusers keep promising that they will change, but they won't change. These are the two main aspects, I should say. They want only the abuse to end, and they keep relying that the abusers keep on promising them they will change, but nothing will happen on this criteria when the survivors stay and go back again to the abuser. And another one is abusive partners work very hard. It's the kind of mind game. They work very hard, they use their mind to keep victims trapped in the relationship. They may try to isolate the victim from, like Kavita mentioned it, friends and their own family members, by reducing people and places where the survivor can go for the support. So if they will try to study clearly whether they are within their circle rather than not going out from within the abuser circle or within whatever getting the permission and doing the things. So they try to reduce their activity and the people they are connecting to and the places where they are going to take the support. So the various tactics is, for example, like financial abuse, abusive partners create financial barriers to the safety. They try to control the money, the relationship, what they're having with the other people, everything. So that's a reason majority of the survivors can't come out of the abusive partners. They're trying to stay and not stick to them.
Also to add to that, it could be due to various other reasons, say, for example, religious reasons, where the victims are made to think that they are to be in one family, hold on to that value of family. And then it could be due to your children. If children are involved, then, for the sake of children, I should keep on taking this abuse and carry on with it. And that could be another reason. And again, culture, what will my parents think? Will my, brothers and sisters will get married, or, kind of those sort of things. And also in Tamil, there is a saying which Batma quoted me earlier, saying, "Avadum pennale, alivadum pennale." So, most of the reason we want to mention that here is 99% or 90% of abuse is done by male perpetrators, but there are cases of men being abused as well. So there are help available for both of them. From the religious aspect, it could be the sayings from, there's a verse in Bible as well, which says, "Buddhiyulla stree than vittai kattugiral," so which means, the wise women build their homes. So it's again down to women. They think it's because of that I have to be together. So spiritually also, they think it is required.
Thank you so much. I have no comments about spiritual values. I get into trouble as such without major contribution towards spirituality. So I better keep quiet about that bit. Yes, but it is family values and the community and society, how they condition you is the word that comes to my mind, right? If we have been conditioned so well, and we are continuing to be conditioned very well, so I think it becomes very difficult to break that pattern and do something about it.
So just a couple of things. Since you and Kavita discussed about this, Menaca, one is she triggered about it's not always about women, even when go through the abuse, and also you said about the kind of when she spoke about the religious aspect. So in one aspect, everybody should think is it is not about the violence is against men or women, or men versus women, or women versus men. It is about in a relationship, it's about the violence versus peace and control versus respect. So this is what we need to see ideally. So the love, the peace and respect is equality is very, very important. So that is the aspect that we need to see every time when we just talk about it in terms of the relationship.
Oh, thanks, Helen. The next thing I want to ask is, what is the relationship between domestic abuse and mental health in relation, particularly with the victim and abuser? Because it's really important correlation, because we cannot treat one aspect without the other, as far as I understand. So I would love you to enlighten us about it.
I mean, we are wholesome persons, and our mind, our thoughts, our behavior, it all kind of very, very much linked. And so in every interaction with another human being, our thoughts about ourselves, our thoughts about our lives, it's all impacted. So that's why it's so important to, when we are when we are raised up, for parents to say that they love us, that we are good, that we are beautiful, and said you're good at it, because it builds our confidence. So in every word that they're saying, it creates this thought that I'm good, I'm worthy, I can do things. So it builds confidence, resilience, and all that. But in life, as we meet the most important people in our lives, the close, intimate relationships, it's our parents, and after that, the next is our partners. And so they have as much power to mold us and shape us as our parents have. So in every word that they say to us, it impacts our feelings and our thoughts. And our thoughts leads to our behavior. So in like Kavita mentioned, when we go into a relationship, it's filled with emotions. We feel that we love them and they're so important to us. And so every word of acknowledgement and care, we as a human being, we soak that into us. Some people are more resilient than other people, and they can say, I'm not going to take that kind of language, or I'm not going to take that kind of behavior. And that can be sustained for a long while sometimes. And for other people who doesn't have that kind of resilience, soak that in much earlier and becomes a product of the way we are treated. So when someone says, yeah, why couldn't this food be better? Or why couldn't you do it this way? Why can't you behave like my sister? Why can't you behave like my mom? Or why can't you behave like my dad? These small things, it's like chipping away on however big a stone sculpture is. When you keep chipping away at it, it starts to impact at some point. And so therefore, every interaction with our partners makes an effort. It affects us. And there is a cycle that we talk about in counseling, is thoughts, feelings, and behavior that's linked. So once we start, our thoughts start to change. Oh, why is he saying that I'm not doing? Or why is she saying this? That starts to impact our mood, and at some point it will start to impact our behavior. And So little by little, it's like being imprisoned slowly, going into a prison very slowly.
Yeah, I think at times we don't even realize the changes we are going through without even recognizing you slowly getting molded into something what you don't want to be. What are the obstacles? Like, as you said, like our past, present, and future experiences are linked to mental health. So what will happen if an abuser is suffering from mental illness, for sure? Like, for example, that is another thing, right? Like then the victim might feel that the abuser might use it as an excuse. People around us might use it as an excuse, or even the victim might feel that, that is the reason they're acting in a certain way. What would you recommend in that case?
I think we have already mentioned it earlier in the show, saying, you can take the horse to the trough, but you can't make it drink. So it has to come the abuser has to come to a point of realization that I need help. That's a big thing. It's okay to ask for help. So they have to, as Alan said, they have to let go of all their guards and come to a point and say, okay, this is destroying my family. This is destroying my children. And my parents or whoever is involved. Yeah, so I have to do something about it. So unless they come to that point, it is really, really hard to send help to them. Yeah.
Thank you. It's important to discuss these things because they are the common things, right? People think. The next thing is, what are the obstacles we face in creating awareness in particularly our kind of communities? Logi, I know that he already mentioned in the chat about stigma. What are the main issues that can be found in our communities?
The main issue is first, people are not aware. Even the educated, highly educated victims, they don't even realize there is a word exists for domestic abuse, and there is if you step into it, there is a lot of help available. Not necessarily coming out of your family. It is initially how to understand it and so on. But then it has to get it to them, right?
Sorry, if you don't mind, I said there was a comment in the side that says that if you contact the police, your family and children will be taken away. And so therefore it's important to seek help from close ones and then professional help. And that itself, I think, is a stigma in itself, because I think community is that way, that families are not split up straight away. There's a lot of opportunities given to families to change, to abusers to do family courses, parenting courses, relationship courses, before it comes to the point where they will actually something will be done. Because thankfully the community is suffering these days, lack of money and lack of resources, so they don't just take away children straight away or split up families straight away. So in a way that's a good thing, because other resources are given, support is given for families to survive better. So yeah, there's a lot of stigma out there.
Thanks, Pata. I know the person who put it, and I know he's involved in a lot more involved in domestic violence. Perhaps what I'm only suggesting, I can't speak for anyone, is perhaps what he's trying to say is sometimes people don't know the structure of things. Like, particularly for new people who come from abroad, they don't know what is the structure. They don't even know that there's a possibility their children can be taken away.
Yeah, and I think there is, it's not to be taken away that obviously when we go to the police or to the social services, it is much bigger than obviously talking to someone that we know. Of course it is, and it's an official thing at that point. So it's not to take that away, but it's just to reassure that there is help out there in a professional setting as well, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the family is going to collapse. But again, like Kavita said, if the perpetrator is willing to seek within themselves and recognize, if I change, then everything can look much better. Then yeah, it does look better.
I understand, but I think from where I stand, I think everything has to start from grassroots level. So, I mean, if someone is going to come and tell us there's a problem, may it be parents, may it be siblings, may it be very close friends, what are you going to do about it? If they are going to say, like there are so many sayings, right? Like, what is it? Something like there are hundreds of them in Tamil, which means for people who don't understand Tamil, I know like there are a couple of them, which means the person is, I don't even know how to really with any mental sense to translate this. People who hit only will also give you a hug kind of thing. So, there are so many different versions of them. So I think it's really important for you to educate yourself, is the word, to how to deal with it. If they do come to you, it's okay to not to go to police, but if you're coming to the friends and family, how are you going to deal with it? And there has to be social structure, there has to be more organizations like yours, and I think that kind of really helps. So thank you.
And just to add one more thing is not to go into feminism and all that, but there's also a fundamental, especially in our Asian communities, a fundamental understanding about the value of men and women, and that perhaps not quite understanding that we are equal. And in that saying that you just said about the hand that hits will also be the hand that hugs, and that might be even in a slightest form agreeable for children, but when it comes to your wife or husband, that's not our responsibility to correct it and discipline. And I think that's maybe at the foundation.
Abuse is not good. Whereas children,
No,
nobody. So coming to what we can do, so we have all agreed that mental well-being and domestic violence are closely interrelated. Is there a difference between the way men and women deal with these two things?
From my point of view, I think both men and women are equally impacted by abuse, and perhaps the way they show it outward might be different. But I think one pattern that we have been seen countlessly in our community is that even though the methods are different, everyone seems to just want to keep it under the lid, under the cupboard, and that pattern doesn't seem to be different. Women seem to do it in a very silent and inadvertent way. Men avoid as well. I don't know if you know about these responses of fight, flight, and freeze, and it's either fighting or freezing or avoiding it altogether. And we all seem to be doing it equally. I don't think abuse is easier for men to take than for women, or the other way around.
Just to add on that, sorry,
Yes,
just to add, since because this is very specific to the domestic abuse and how it is affecting the mental health. If you look at it, like one of the point that Kavita mentioned it, majority of the women are abused compared to the men. Probably around 88%, you can say that it's been women are abused, and the men are just 10 to 12%. So in that point of view, if you look at it, women experiencing domestic abuse are more likely to experience mental health problems. So the women who are going through the abuse are the people who are going through the mental health problems. It is just in contrast to the women with mental health problems are more likely to be the domestic abuse. It's not the case. So obviously they have mental health problems, they're going through the treatment, but the abuse is the one which is majorly causing the mental health. In that proportion, if you see, women are higher in terms of getting this kind of mental health issues. However, just tip that what Padma said, Women dealing with the problem is different from what men dealing with. So men sometimes what they do is are more likely prefer to deal with the mental illness on their own when it comes to the treatment, and they try to see or find a way where they can easily find a solution for it and not come over it. But as a woman, I know they just try to see what are the possibilities as a process, how we can just approach, how we can do it, so that it's not only for them, it's also for the children, or they're not having any children, other family members, everything will be considered. So that is the way we need to look at it when it comes to the abuse and the mental health with regard to men and women.
Thanks, Alan. A couple of things comes to mind for me when listening to all of you. Firstly, of course, abusing men is coming up. There's no denial about it. But I think there's a slight difference between men and women. Women have a better social structure for sure than men. We have the social support. We kind of create our own social structure. But beyond it, I think much more shame is attached when men are involved in it, because it is a bit of an ego trip, right? Like men don't want to tell that they're being abused. And that is, I think, part of the issue, because, we tell boys don't cry. So, like how women are being told this, men are being told that. So, on both sides. But domestic violence, whichever way you see it, it is on the rise. And it's a very important topic to be handling with. And I totally agree with Alan, particularly in certain communities. Of course, women are so much more are targeted than men, for sure. So it's really important to keep that statistics in mind when we talk about these things. Let me come to three of you as speakers. I know why I invited you and what you do, but for the benefit of others, we now know the issues regarding domestic violence, mental health, and what can be done to help others. And what was the inspiration behind starting Agile? If I can ask three of you, it'll be really helpful.
Okay, let me start with that. I am being a domestic violence abuse victim, and now I can say I'm a survivor. I went through hardship for nearly 15 years of my marriage. So with that in mind, I was always kept in my mind that I have to do something for the community, because when I went through, it was very, very hard to accept it in the first place, that it is happening in my house, in my family, my children, and then the second thing came to me was, as we rightly said, what if he has a mental health illness? Can I help him to come out of it? Can we help, in some way? If he's got a cancer, then will I leave him just like that? No, I wouldn't. Likewise, this is something to do with this mental illness. So can we go for counseling? Can we try this? Can we try that? So those sort of things was going on, and also went through various social agencies and getting help, and that was all very difficult. Even being working in an IT setting, and with the all information is at hand. I was sitting in front of computer many days trying to find things and help wherever possible. Even with all that, I was struggling a lot to identify what can be done, what cannot be done, and there was no one to explain how it works in our community, or we think differently to other communities going through this. One thing that was busted when I was researching about it was it's not just Asians, it's not just Indian mentality, it's not just a Sri Lankan mindset. No, it's even Britishers, white people go through this domestic abuse a lot. So with that in mind, I was thinking that once I am out of this storm, I thought I'll start helping others. That was always in my mind. I need to do something for the women who go through this. And then when the COVID started, we found There were other mental health illnesses coming to the surface from our community, and hence we got together, myself, Batma, being the counselor, and we both were friends for nearly 20 years. So I thought, okay, but if we are not doing anything now, when are we going to do it? So it stemmed out of that. So we said, okay, and that's how Agal came into home.
Thank you so much. And I know it takes a lot of courage and resilience for you to even talk about it. So thank you so much for being transparent and talking about the experience. 15 years is a long time, and it kind of sheds light on exactly what we were talking before, why people stay in their abusive relationships and why people keep going back to the same relationships. So thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing your journey, and hopefully it will inspire somebody else to get that help and do something with their lives. Thank you so much. But now, what was the inspiration for you to start this?
Yeah. Well, for me, my life experience is really, and I don't want to take too much time, so please do stop me. I do have a tendency to go on. But I was an immigrant girl when I was 6, and so came to live in Denmark, and lots of things happened there. My brother died when he was 21 and I was 16. So lots of things happen in our lives, and at every part of our life, we were just expected to just get on with it. Just get on with it. My dad was very abusive to mom, but that was seen as a very normal thing. And so when I was in my early 20s, I was suffering from depression. I was suffering, not understanding what was going on within myself. But I was fortunate to work in a church at that point who said, for various reasons, that they would like some of our workers to study counseling. And I went to study counseling to help other people, but without really understanding anything about it. And as part of the training, I had to be in counseling myself. And that's when I started to understand how much all these life experiences have actually impacted me, and realized, my goodness, most of us, we are just raised like one of the things that I often say to my husband is that we are just expected to kind of grow up like animals on the field, just eat, grow, and just get on with it. Not recognizing that we are people with so much feelings and so much going on within ourselves. So that was huge, very, very helpful for me to be in that training. And I was training within a small charity myself. And so that passion they had for people also impacted me a lot. So when I finished, I really wanted to start a charity at some point and didn't know how to go about it or how to. And a couple of times Kavita called and said, "What are we doing? We need to be doing something." And COVID came, and we saw a few families, there were lots of things going on in the newspapers, families really struggling, and we thought that was the time, this is the time we had to start now. So that's how it really came about.
Thank you, Padma, and thank you again, once again, sharing your own personal journey. And the point which really stood out for me from your story is normalization, right? You mentioned dad used to abuse mom, but it was normal. That is the pattern we have to break, isn't it? This is not normal, and it should never be normal. So, hats off to you guys for starting something. Yes, Alan, what made you want to be part of this?
Yeah, mine, I'm an IT software profession, coming from a post-graduation background of computer science. But only one thing, I always tend to do a lot of community activities since my childhood, coming from the church background and everything. So this was when I was working in software in Chennai, back home in India. So I was part of a volunteering group, just visiting some of the places. So one of the few months I got a chance to visit a juvenile home, which is a home for the minor minor who do the commit offense,
Commit crimes.
crimes and offense. It's not same as an adult, but it's typically under 18 who commit offenses. They'll be
Juvenile services, right?
juvenile services, yes. They call it as a juvie or juvenile services. So that's where I was involved in few months to go and talk to the children on the minors who are in the home. And this is one particular weekend when I was visiting there. This one child, I should say, he should be probably 15 or 16 years old. So he was narrating a story about why he came to the home. I know it was very sad, and that impacted me a lot. That child was telling that his dad used to abuse his mom for days and months. And now one day when he was abusing, so his mother has fallen because of the abuse and the physical violence which is happening. So he couldn't see that actually. It triggered the child mind, and there was a stone near to him, and he took the stone and hit his dad, and he got hurt, and police was being called, and he was taken to the hospital, and daughter also taken to the hospital, and he was brought to the home, and he was in the police custody, dad. So everything happened. When he explained, it really touched me how it is impacting the children and the family. And that's the point I thought I need to do something about it in terms of the relationship and the stress or the mental health and the abuse that is going through between the children and the family, and how it is majorly affecting the family and the children. So that's fair. And then while I was thinking about it and progressing on my own professional life and doing the other community activities, that's where these two wonderful ladies, Padma and Maharani Sasikumara, contacted me, and we thought, why can't we just do about it? Started discussing about it and putting the structure and the process and stuff, and that's where we initiated it, and that's where we are in. And basically, I could able to see Chalaya Lohendran has also dropped a message here, most in Tamil community, alcohol and all these things. But he said, especially there is not enough help for the Tamil communities here. So this is where we are. And we thought we have to just step in and do whatever we can do. And it is not about just starting it. And we are building the foundation very strong in terms of process and stuff, trying to pick the right people to build it, and who are having the right intentions and are trying to support the community. This is where it is.
Thanks, Alan. It's like amazing to see a man supporting this as well, which is really good. And you being a counselor, I'm sure it will help. Thank you. Thanks, Alan. So are there any practical obstacles? You mentioned, Logi mentioning about the same things. Are there any practical obstacles you face as an organization, as people, in reaching out to our own community as a charity?
Yeah, I should say the practical obstacles is the community coming together. So we try to reach to the majority of our own communities where they need help, and the way they're joining together as a community. However, we still need hands to reach more people, because the way it is going on is when we just go and talk about it, people are quite trying to not be very open about it or talking about it. I know, but once we just go there, I know, talk and come back, then they try to reach us personally. Oh, this is what is happening. I know that is what is happening. So reaching out to the community, we are doing it, but still we need more hands so that more people are aware. I know the main agenda for us is not about reactive to the situations. I know we need to go and just make the community aware of this is what is going. So we, like I said earlier, we need to kill that before it becomes a crime and before we get into the mental issues. So talk about proactive awareness and making sure, if you're trying to even find a small spark, that is, you're feeling that it's an abuse, it's something that I'm going through, I'm having some kind of stress thinking about the family relationship and stuff, talk about it. And that's where we are trying to approach, come and speak about it, so that anything you're hiding it should be spoken about it, so that the relationship is secured, the family is healthy.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Adding one more point about the going to police, because that is the major thing that stops anyone to ask or approach for help. Okay. Going to police not necessarily will end in splitting the family. And even the police, they want to offer help to both sides. There are, in the social services, schools are helping us as well to, it doesn't have to be police all the time. Even if we go to school, then children are given counseling support from pastoral support from the schools. And the perpetrator is also being offered help, like building better relationship courses are offered by the police, and they can have meetings with the perpetrator and with the victims on a separate basis. So there are lots and lots of help available. It's not always about splitting the family. Rather, however, if the abuse is continuing and the mother is not, or the father is not standing up against and protecting the safety of the children, at that point, it will be an issue and the children will be taken away, but not until then. So they think if the abuse is continuing and the mother is helping or trying to do something about the safety of the children's mental health, children's physical well-being, shelter, then they are good, in the good side if they live. And then another pattern that we are noticing here is, as long, if say for an example, we had many cases like that we have dealt. One of them, this one particular type is where the women, they'd say, okay, I will endure this forever. I will somehow manage, somehow, get this one more day out of my day. If they try to do that, the longer they live, the perpetrators, they take up a hand and they go and file a complaint against the women. They frame the women as if they are the perpetrators. So one example I would say is, this woman was she was enduring it, keeping it under control, within herself. But then this guy, he was behind the back. He was going to GP and been telling stories about his wife being on what do you say, mental. She has mental health. That's the point that men will come to say you are mental, you need counseling, and then they are trying to frame her, keeping a knife next to her bed when she was sleeping. They took a photo of that and then used that as an evidence, saying that she's threatening him to harm herself. So these sort of stories come. So one thing I want to stress here is, the longer the victim is enduring this, they can be the children
manipulative.
Yes, they manipulated and taken away from them. That is.
Thank you so much. Yeah, even I think even I'm shocked. Listening to that story, what extreme people can go to. Thank you. So we know now, like, we have to seek assistance. We have to go for professionals. So where and how someone can find help in your organization or somewhere else, or access free or low cost counseling, because we know that mental health, not only for the two people who are involved, when the children are involved, like Alan said, they need counseling as well. So what can be?
Yeah, we have this adult well-being services, Menaca. We do everything free of cost, and we also give the required directions for the victim, what they want to do and where to approach, the related documents, the helpline, and the legal authorities who they need to contact, and how they can approach it, and what kind of advice that we can give. So if anything is needed in terms of our community, like Kavita mentioned, it's not about the South Asian community, it's a wider group. Even we are supporting recently we are even getting outside the South Asian community. So the helpline, our website, agalwellbeingservices.com is available. You can find all the details, connect with us and talk to us about it. And we can give, everything is very confidential,
Yes.
Data protection. And that's very important. Even like we three of us are sitting here, But if we talk about one person, and if the person has been handled by one of the counselors or one of the IDVA staff, the Independent Domestic Violence Advocacy, and we can't talk about that particular person's, the abuser or the victims, about their details to even three of us. So it's all very protective, and that's what, because it varies from people. Why we wanted to keep this very confidential even within the organization is because abuse is not same. The victims are not. They have a different pattern, and if you try to talk about it, you will overlap and know your direction will be going wrong. So that's where we are very confidentially dealing with the things and trying to help our communities. So far, at least I should say, we have touched around 136 victims' life. I know we given the impact, we changed, we have taught them, and also we are creating more awareness towards it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think and you guys are doing a great job, and hence I wanted you to come here. So what can we as a community, for all of us who is listening in our social media, Facebook, later on YouTube, and people who are present today, what can we do collectively to deal with addressing domestic violence?
Mainly bringing more awareness. I should say, like your show, Menaca, is also one of the greatest platform. You're doing an amazing job trying to pick the unique topic. It's very important because some of the topics like this domestic abuse is not spoken about, but people go through it, and bringing it out, making that awareness, it's very, very important. So I really appreciate like your show as one of the platform, and top of it, anybody who is listening or watching this, or people who are going through, try to approach, and we have to create more and more awareness to stop it. So when I say stop it, stop is progress. Today, if you're seeing 88%, which you're talking about, a woman are going through abuse, we should see in next 1 or 2 years within our community or the area, at least if you're going to do a change and bring it down 1 or 2%, it's a huge impact that we're giving. So this is what we, as a people, when we talk about giving back to the community, it's not just coming in. Even a small thought will help anybody. Just the saying is there, no, just don't do good things, but start thinking good things in your heart. That is what your action will be transformed to. So just start discussing about it. Even if you want to help someone, try to come and approach all the people who are in the ground helping the people. Just giving them a thought, trigger a thought to them, and talk about it, and that will give a huge difference and huge impact to the community.
What you're saying is about ripple effect, right?
Exactly.
Like first you increase the awareness, stop normalizing these things, and then give the resources to people, and equip them with the resources so that they can help themselves and people who are close to them. That brings me to the last question, nicely, to ask you, what are the 5 takeaways people can take from your show today? What people must remember about domestic violence and mental well-being?
I would say take as advice immediately if you feel you're in an abusive relationship. Advice is the first thing you should say, and protect yourself, else it will affect your family and children. And seek counseling for your own well-being. That's another thing that we need to seriously consider about it. And create awareness. We spoke about it, proactiveness, and how to make sure we are giving the awareness so that people are not getting into a stage where they need to talk about the domestic violence or the abusive relationship. And
help is available for perpetrators as well.
Exactly.
Sure.
The perpetrators also, the help is available. So the last point, that's what Maharani, that I just want planning to come here. Like, know the helpline and the support which is available for you, not only for the victim, the perpetrators also. So these are the 5 takeaways, I should say, from the talk show.
Sure. Thank you so much. Hold on for people who have joined new today, because we are going to go into discussion one-on-one. You can ask the question directly to the speakers. I think the most important thing is equipping people with knowledge and giving them the resources to and know the signpost them where they can reach out, isn't it? Like that is a issue. And someone, Asha Chidai, she put it nicely, and that we are not alone, and it's so true. And I think because everyone thinks we are the only victim in the entire world, we don't know about it. And a lot of people who come regularly know resilience is my favorite word. So yes, so I think it is everyone together, all of us individually and collectively together, we can really make a big difference. So thank you so much for being part of this and listening to us. Over to Raj Madhavan to give the vote of thanks.
I'm Raj Madhavan. I'm coming from Canada. This is a very powerful panel discussion by Mr. Alan Joseph and Ms. Patna Chandramohan and Ms. Maharani Sashikumar on a topic that many do not often talk about, which is domestic violence and mental health. I understand that based on WHO estimates, 30% of women have experienced intimate partner violence or non-partner sexual violence. And in Canada, where I'm from, there are 44% of women reported some kind of abuse in their intimate partner abuse. Although we don't talk about this subject very much, as I understand, 1 in 4 people in worldwide are affected by mental illness at some point in their lives, which is 14% of deaths worldwide, or approximately 8 million deaths each year attributable to mental disorders. In Canada, according to data from 2022, over 5 million Canadian, which is 18%, approximately 1 in 4 people, have experienced some sort of mental disorders, such as mood, anxiety, and substance abuse, and so on and so forth. We could see from the above statistics how serious the various forms of mental disorders and domestic abuses are, and how sad that the subject is somewhat still a taboo to talk about. Therefore, the subject we talked about today is very, very important and useful. And we all are very thankful to all our panel speakers for taking their time in joining us, in sharing their expertise with us, and giving all of us hope that we can live as a better society than what we see now. In my opinion, every couple that are coming into relationships must have some sort of knowledge, education, and understanding of mental health disorders. In my opinion, this will prevent domestic violence, substance abuse, that often leads to separation and divorce between couples. On behalf of Meet Menaca celebrating team, I have the honor and privilege in presenting the vote of thanks to Mr. Alan Joseph, Ms. Patna Chandramohan, and Ms. Maharani Sashikumar. Thank you very much.
Well said. Thank you so much, Raj. And thank you so much for the speakers for giving up your time. And as I said, people who are on the Zoom call already, please stay here and you will be given a chance to ask the question directly. Give me 2 seconds. And for people who are listening to us on Facebook, thank you so much once again, and hoping to see you the first week of February again, talking about another important topic. So it is time to say goodbye at this moment. Until we see you next month, same time, same place. Stay safe, be happy, and keep smiling.